change this. Gonna change this title. We ready to get into it. Um, Another stream. Another day, another stream. Um, Yesterday night, my mic was muted, so I wasn't able to actually commentate on what was going on. But basically, we was watching the Take It trial and everything. So um, tonight we going. I'm gonna try to finish that. I'm gonna finish the. We're gonna finish the finish watching the trial, but um, like always, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna get into this chess, and then we're gonna try to, we're gonna find some reactions or something to do. So, um, yeah, we're gonna get into it, man. Y'all can follow me on official Nate Silver and the Nate Silver podcast, like always. But yeah, we getting ready to get started, man. We're gonna go and get into what we're doing. So make sure my mic is good, level's good. So we got a Carl Khan defense. Let's go D4. I'll probably move my queen because I don't want the knight coming to C5. I got a weak D4 pawn right here. So I'll probably move my queen probably to C2. Or I'll probably try to trade off the knight. Alright, so he goes. I have no clue why he's going there. That's C4. Alright, free bishop. We go. Should be a free bishop as well. Another free bishop. If he goes Queen G4, then I take. Then he'll probably take back, so Queen H3. Yeah. I think the position's lost. Black's position. Alright, so he brings the queen back. Just bring the bishop here, then G4, then bishop C1 maybe. Let's go here. Still got the knight locked up. Alright, so he's trying to move the knight down, so see what I want to do. Let's go Queen C2. Then probably A3. If you come down to C5, I'll probably play A3. Oh, that's bad move. That's fine. Let's figure out this. In this game. Yeah. This game. Now we got black. Let's go here. a good move, man. I really can't do nothing about that. I wasn't even paying attention. Yeah. I think I'm gonna play for D5 here. Something with knight D5, queen D2, then rook D1 or rook C1. I think I want to take with the queen. Take with the queen. Got the knights, the bishop. Maybe queen G4. take this out. Let's go queen f3. Maybe knight f5. Maybe rook e7. Swing the other rook over. Oh my god. Leave that stuff hanging, of course. Move my rook up. game. This game. Black's supposed to win, but E4. Let's develop. Terrible. Terrible. It's terrible.
you want your food now?
Yeah. Oh, so,
Here you go.
appreciate it.
You want some soy sauce or duck sauce?
Straight. G5. I'm not really so confident about G5, but wow. Bishop A3 is something out of like Morphe or something. Still terrible. Let's bring the rook up. Thinking b6, bishop b7. Bishop should be trapped. But it's a free rook. Look at the chat, see. Like I said, we're getting ready to look at that TK in a minute. Alright, so I'm gonna do this. Take. We're gonna do one more to get into this TK video. TK trial. E1. Might just give him E6. Let's go rook E1. Alright, now that's game. Let's go window. Could take. All right, and that was let me see how much. Yeah, still not doing as good as I need to be. But we're gonna stop right there. We've been playing for like 2 hours, so we're gonna go ahead and get into that Take A trial. Yeah.
If you want to learn how to edit really well from professional Hollywood editors, we're going to show you the stuff that nobody else is teaching. I'm talking about real creative skills, like how you can use music.
Let me see where I was at last. It was right when the girlfriend was talking.
In the microphone. The state called.
Let me see. Alright, so I'm guessing this is like a whole new day, so we're gonna start right from the beginning. Like I said last night, the mic was muted, so y'all wasn't able to hear what I was actually saying. But basically, it was the girlfriend. They was, basically going over what happened. And I guess she was, telling them, allegedly telling the court her side of the story or what happened. So, yeah, so I think that was like day 6 of the trial. So we on another day. So these are different people up on the stand testifying. So we're gonna start from the beginning. Let's see if we got. Before let me check let's check the chat, see what we looking like. Alright, everything looks smooth, so yeah. Same judge. Turn it up. So let's go and get started with it. Alright, let's see what this is.
Thank you. The state calls Christina Michonne. All right, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right, you may have a seat. All right, if you make sure that you keep your voice up so that members of the jury can hear, and also if you could state your name and spell your last name, please.
My name is Christina Vachon. My last name is spelled V-A-C-H-O-N.
All right, state you may proceed.
Thank you.
Ms. Vachon, how are you currently employed?
I am currently employed as the Quality Assurance Manager at the Bexar County Criminal Investigation Laboratory. I've been in that position for about 5 years now, and for the 15 years prior to that, I was a forensic scientist in the trace evidence section.
All right, and as a forensic scientist in the trace evidence section, what were your duties in that position?
I would examine items of evidence that would come into the laboratory. They were generally microscopic, but not biological in nature. So I would examine items such as fibers, did hair comparisons, paint, gunshot residue, footwear and tire tracks, did a lot of different types of testing.
All right, can you explain to the jury your educational background?
I have
All right, hold on. Let me skip past the whole section. Let me see where we was at. Right here.
In the mixture of the gunpowder.
from the manufacturer of our instrument.
As a forensic scientist with the Bexar County Crime Lab, did you receive any specific training regarding gunshot residue?
Yes, I did.
Can you explain that to the jury?
Yes. I attended the Lehigh University School of Microscopy for training on the instrument that we use. I also received training from the manufacturer of our instrument on the software that we use. And I received training in-house on the type of testing for gunshot residue, and that included reading journal articles, conducting supervised casework, and then passing and practical exams before I was released to practice casework in gunshot residue. Have you testified as an expert witness in the area of gunshot residue? Yes, I have. And has that been advantageous?
Catherine Andrews Imler, who did testify in this case, so that's my response.
Yes, Your Honor, but Ms. Andrews turned the scene over to Ms. Wong in process.
Excuse me just one second. Excuse me, why are you all here?
Oh, he needs to come back here, Judge.
All right.
Slight emergency.
Straight.
Oh, hey, how's it going? I'm pen and paper guy. And I'm motion. Well, I have a system. You see, I put my to-do list. Oh, wait a minute. I put my to-do list.
All right, please be seated. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman who came in has absolutely nothing to do with this case. Believe it or not, back there are restrooms, there is plumbing, and there may be an issue with the plumbing in the back, and we don't want any floods coming into the courtroom. So completely ignore him in the sense that it has absolutely nothing to do with this case. And there's no other entryway for him to come there other than here. All right, so state, what were you stating?
Well, I was just responding to his objection. State's exhibit that the witness has was personally collected by a witness that testified, which is Catherine Andrews.
Correct.
Our only response is that while we don't dispute that Ms. Andrews is the person who did the swabbing, the barcode that the question was asked to have read into the record was generated by another witness who's unavailable.
All right, that objection is overruled.
Thank you, Judge. All right, could you please read the San Antonio Police Department case number on the state's exhibit?
It is 17089350.
Okay. And when you receive evidence at the crime lab, is it assigned a unique number within the crime lab for tracking?
Yes, it is.
And what would that be in this case?
In this case, that was 17-03268. And sometimes we do get separate submissions with different types of evidence. This was submission 2 that came in on this, with this agency number from the San Antonio Police Department.
Okay. And regarding the, did you get any information of who the kit was collected from?
Yes, it was labeled as John Doe on the outside of the kit, but the submission form that is filled out by SAPD and comes in with the evidence listed the kit as having come from...
Renew the same objection, Your Honor, for sake confrontation.
The submission form identified the person the kit was collected from as Mark Anthony Saldivar.
Okay. And when you take the kit into your custody, do you do any visual inspection to ensure there's been no tampering on the kit?
Yes, all items of evidence that come into the laboratory have to be tape sealed, so I ensured that the seal and the package are intact.
Okay. And so on May 23rd of 2017, did you analyze the contents of the State Exhibit 17?
Yes, I believe I received the evidence on May 23rd, and then I actually did the analysis on May 30th.
Okay, thank you very much. And on the day that you conducted the analysis, were you a forensic scientist employed with the Bexar County Crime Lab?
Yes, I was.
And regarding State's Exhibit number 17, did you put any unique identifiers on there for your knowledge to ensure that it's the same thing that you conducted the analysis on?
Yes.
And what would that be?
Evidence that I take into my custody, I will write the criminal investigation laboratory number, the date that I receive it, the item number, and my initials. And then whenever I have completed analysis, I will make a tape seal and write my initials and the date that I seal it. And I see both of those here.
Okay. Would you please explain to the jury what gunshot residue is?
Yes, I have a model if I may use it.
Your Honor, defense counsel, the witness has a demonstrative, but she does not wish to leave it here and for it to be entered into evidence. So we would ask if she'd be able to use it.
No objections to the use or preventing its admission. She can use it.
Yes, you may proceed.
This is a model of a round of ammunition, and you may have seen it with the firearms examiner as well. I'm going to show you something different with it. So what happens whenever a trigger is pulled on a gun, it will release the firing pin of the gun. The firing pin will strike the primer cap area that you see here, the silver area, and that contains shock-sensitive chemicals. So whenever it receives that strike from the firing pin, there will be an explosion in this primer cap, which blows into the cartridge case area of the ammunition. Inside the cartridge case, there is nitrocellulose, gunpowder, and that will ignite and burn very quickly, and the gases expand inside the cartridge case. And it's those expanding gases that actually push the bullet out of the cartridge case and down the barrel. So whenever I am looking for gunshot residue, I'm looking for the components of the primer cap area. And it contains the metals lead, barium, and antimony. And those will evaporate in the explosion and then condense back together to form particles. And those particles are forced out of any open areas of the gun, and they will land on surfaces around the gun when it's fired.
Okay. And the analysis, how do you conduct it? With what instrument?
I use a scanning electron microscope with an energy dispersive X-ray detector.
Okay. And what would the analysis reveal?
The analysis allows me to identify individual particles on the surface of the sampling device, and if they contain lead, barium, and antimony during the automated analysis, then I will go back and confirm that composition. I'll look at the shape and size, which is also important, and then I'll be able to confirm that gunshot residue was on that sample. And it will allow me to make conclusions as to whether a person possibly handled or discharged a firearm.
All right. And now I want to. So when you conducted your analysis of the state's exhibit, did you prepare a report that reflected the findings?
Yes, I did.
Of your analysis. And just regarding, did you follow all the protocol regarding the instrument when you conducted the analysis?
Objection, Lady.
Overruled.
You can answer.
Yes, I did.
And once you were finished conducting your analysis, what did you do with the evidence?
The evidence was returned back to the evidence receiving section of the laboratory, and then it was collected by a representative from SAPD.
Now I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 139. If you could take a look at that and tell me if you recognize the document.
Yes, I do.
Okay, is that a copy of the report that you generated in this case?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and does it reflect your findings of your analysis?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and was it State's Exhibit number 39 created at or around the time that you conducted your analysis?
Yes, it was.
And are you a custodian of records for the Bexar County Crime Lab?
Yes, I am.
Is State's Exhibit number 139 a true and accurate copy of the report and your findings?
Yes, it is.
And just regarding, is that your signature or electronic signature on the report?
Yes, it is.
And is this report kept in the regular course of business?
Yes, it is.
We're tendering to defense for inspection. At this time, we would offer State's Exhibit 139.
If you want to get your name, phone number, and address off the internet, but want to handle the removals yourself, Optory's free opt-out guides are amazing. When you sign up for Optory's
I was basically saying like that it was just a sad that's just a sad situation like overall, but like I was also saying like I was also talking about like the girlfriend and everything, like as far as like you don't want people, especially females, like being in a situation like this because like you understand the fact that they aren't capable of like handling situations like this or even being around certain things. But like I said, everything's alleged. But yeah, I was just basically speaking on like the severity of the situation and how like everything like shouldn't have played out how it played out. But yeah, it's a sad situation overall.
All right, Ms. Vachon. So I am publishing State's Exhibit number 139, which you've stated is a copy of your report. Can you please explain to the jury what the result of your analysis was?
I identified 10 microscopic particles containing lead, barium, and antimony on the sample that was collected from the right hand of Mark Anthony Saldivar. And I found 10 particles containing lead, barium, and antimony on the sample that was collected from the left hand of Mark Anthony Saldivar.
And is there any significance in the microscopic particles?
Yes, I will confirm up to 10 particles on each sample. So that means that there were possibly more than 10 particles on these sampling devices.
Okay. And so based on the identification of these particles, what was your finding regarding Mark Anthony Saldivar?
My conclusion was that based on the morphology and the elemental composition of the particles I found, Mark Anthony Saldivar may have discharged a firearm, handled a discharged firearm, or was in close proximity to a discharging firearm.
Okay. Now, in your training and experience, have you examined gunshot residue kits for victims of gunshot wound?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And is it common for victims that suffered a gunshot wound to have gunshot residue present?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled.
You can answer.
In my experience, it is very common for victims of gunshot wounds to have gunshot residue on their hands.
And why is that?
It is because as I said before, it's the force of the gases that are pushing the bullet down the barrel of the gun and toward the target. So most of the gunshot residue is going to be forced in that direction because that's where all of the pressure is going. So whenever a gun is pointed at a target, then a majority of the gunshot residue will be traveling in that direction toward that target. So if a person is being shot, it would be common sense, it would make sense for them to have gunshot residue on them if they're close enough to the gun.
Okay. And you can't definitively say, right, because you were not a witness in the case, but you can't definitively say whether the victim discharged a firearm or not. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Hypothetically, in your training and experience, if somebody was wrestling with a firearm, would that result in them having gunshot residue on their hands?
That is possible. One of my conclusions is that the person may have handled a previously discharged firearm, and if they are struggling over a gun, then they would be touching the gun.
We pass the witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, how are you?
Good.
A couple of things. Your conclusions were that either he fired a gun, he handled a gun, or he was in close proximity to a gun being discharged, right?
Correct. Those are all ways that someone could get gunshot residue on their hands directly from the gun. They are the most likely, but they're not the only possibilities.
So the analysis you performed doesn't weight those possibilities. They're all equally as likely based upon what you know about the circumstances of what you received.
Correct.
Okay. And we can't really, in an ethical way, scientifically, try to apply more weight to one or the other. We can't just shoot someone and see how much powder is left on them, right?
Correct, and all guns and ammunition and crime scenes are different, so you wouldn't even be able to repeat what happened at a crime scene in the lab to determine how much gunshot residue someone should have on them.
And in terms of the possibility that they were just in close proximity to a firearm, in other words, they got shot by a firearm and that's why they have residue, that would depend on how far away they are from the gun, right?
Partially, but there was a study conducted that postulated that there is possibly a supersonic wind that travels behind a bullet that gunshot residue can travel in. So that residue can be deposited on someone that's further downrange. But generally, gunshot residue will stay in the vicinity of the gun where it is fired.
And so there's a study that is considering that as a hypothesis, but it hasn't been established as a well-recognized practice or thing to rely on in your field, right?
Correct.
Okay. You indicated in your remarks that it would be recommended that the known firearm and ammunition be submitted if further testing is desired. Would that be because it could be conceivable to look at the concentrations of lead, barium, and antimony in the shell casing residue and compare that with the concentrations that you find on the subject, on the deceased's hands, and see if there are similarities, for example, in the mixture of the gunpowder for that particular brand of ammunition?
So these particles are heterogeneous, which means that they won't have the same concentrations of the different elements in them, in every particle. Sometimes we do see ammunition that has an additional element in it, such as copper or tin, that we can see in the particles, and sometimes it might be helpful to try to connect that back to the ammunition that was used in the crime that's being investigated. But generally, we have that statement there for cases where gunshot residue is not found. And we would be able to do a test fire to see if the gun actually expels gunshot residue, what type of gunshot residue comes out of the gun, because it doesn't always have these lead, barium, and antimony components. So it could be done in this situation because we did find 10 particles, because I did find 10 particles on each sample. I would not have recommended it.
Okay, but this is your report, right?
Yes.
And it is the final released version of the report, meaning that you're not going to be able to amend it later. This is what goes into evidence, right?
Yes.
And those remarks are on State's Exhibits 139, right?
Correct. Those are standard remarks that go out in every gunshot residue report.
And that kind of testing could have been done, right?
Yes.
It wasn't done to your knowledge in this case?
Correct.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
No further questions, and the witness is excused by state.
No further questions. Witness is excused.
All right, the rule has been revoked. You're not allowed to discuss your testimony.
Yeah, just crazy. I'm just checking something real quick. Alright, so right now, okay, so let me see. So right now I think this day, this trial, this part of the trial, I think this is like just like more of like the evidence part of the trial. I think this is like trying to wrap it up. Maybe this is probably like the last day of the trial. I'm not sure, but
Examiner.
Yes.
And can you just describe to the jury what? Well, first let's just describe what a fingerprint is. I know that's probably pretty common, but can you describe to the jury what a fingerprint is?
A fingerprint is an impression left on the surface by the friction ridges of the fingers and thumbs.
And let me ask the question: have you ever, in your roughly 26 years of experience, have you ever come across two individuals that have the exact same fingerprint?
I have not.
And can you describe to the jury, I mentioned it earlier in your title, latent print or latent fingerprints. Can you describe to the jury what latent prints or fingerprints means?
A latent print is an unknown, unseen to the eye that needs some type of further processing to be seen.
And can you also describe to them what we consider, what your profession at times, you have latent cards that are presented to you. What is a latent card?
A latent card has the prints, the unknown prints that are lifted at crime scenes with detailed information on it.
Now, on these latent cards that you've reviewed in this case and other cases, is there possibilities of more than one print per latent card?
Yes.
And I keep interchanging latent print and latent fingerprint. Are all latent prints fingerprints?
No.
Can you describe to the jury what you mean by that?
There could be fingerprints and there could be palm prints.
And in certain cases, are you able to identify also these latent prints as part of the palm?
I look at the clarity and legibility of the unknown print.
And let's talk about how identifying these prints. How are you, or what is a criteria for you to be able to identify these prints?
I look at the ridge characteristics to identify the specific point on my unknown to my known.
And is there certain, I guess, I like a better term, legible or clarity that you need to abide by?
We do 7 points to make an identification.
And is that a positive identification?
Yes.
And now, I'm assuming that means that if you have an unknown print, you find 7 points on there. But if you don't have a print to compare it to, I guess what do you call it, like a known print? Then it's just that you have a legible print?
We have a legible print.
And then at some point, do you have to show it, or rather compare it, to a known standard or known print?
Yes.
And is that, at that time, if you have those 7 points, are you able to positively identify that unknown print as coming from the known print?
Yes.
And that's in the general category of how you determine if an unknown print to a known print. Is that correct?
Correct.
Let me ask you about SAPD case number 170-89350. Are you familiar with that SAPD number?
Yes, I am.
And in fact, is that why you're here today?
Yes.
And did you review latent print cards for that case?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell the jury how many latent print cards that you reviewed for this case?
I reviewed 18 latent cards that were submitted.
And were you able to identify those unknown prints that you, well, let me retract that and talk about those 18 latent print cards. From those 18, were you able to identify any of those to a known standard or known print?
Yes, I was.
And can you tell the jury, out of those 18 total, how many were you able to compare and possibly identify an individual that made those prints?
May I have the evidence?
Do you have your reports in front of you? Oh. Give me a third shot of that. I'm going to show you what's marked State Exhibit number 37. If you can just look at that, it's been entered into evidence, and tell me if you recognize that.
Yes, I did.
And how do you recognize that?
I received it on April 24th, 2017.
And did you review it?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell me who collected this? Well, one, it's been entered into evidence. Can you hold up that card that's inside of this envelope? And can you turn it back and forth? And can you tell me, tell the jury, what is this?
This is an unknown prints that were lifted at
sorry, go ahead.
At this particular scene.
Mm-hmm. And who was it lifted by?
This was lifted by crime scene investigator K. Wong, number 9440.
And on this particular card, does it state where this fingerprint came from?
Yes, latent prints obtained from E4, Apple iPhone, model number A1549, IMEI 356-99106-2443-296.
Okay, thank you. And so,
at this time, we would request a hearing under 702 for the witness.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have you step outside. You've heard some evidence. In this case, you're not allowed to discuss with yourselves or with anyone else, do any research, or to begin deliberations. Does everyone understand? So I'm going to have you all step outside, and I'll call you back in shortly. Everyone, please rise for the jurors.
please tell the jury the other individuals that you compared these prints to.
Your Honor, may I get my notes?
Defense, she is asking to review her notes.
Oh, no objection.
I was given Mark Anthony Saldivar.
Okay, anybody else?
Tamor McIntyre.
And anybody else that you compared these to?
Joanna Reyes.
Thank you. Now, in stating that out of all these prints that you were able to determine that were legible, you identified one Jalen Bell and one to Jared Rodriguez. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Nels. We'll pass the witness.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
Excused by the state. Excused.
The room has been invoked. You're not allowed to discuss your testimony with anyone during the pendency of this trial. Thank you.
Can you please just hear me out? No, all work management platforms are the same. They take forever to learn, and in the end, nobody uses them. Monday.com is the one you'll
Thank you, Judge. And if you'll just leave the exhibits with the court reporter.
What about the other one?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. All right, state, call your next witness.
The state calls Lindsay Patton.
Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you can lower your hand. If you make sure you keep your voice up so members of the jury can hear, and if you can state your name and spell your last name, please.
My name is Lindsay Patton. Last name spelled P-A-T-T-E-N.
All right, state, you may proceed.
Ms. Patton, how are you currently employed?
I currently work for the San Antonio Police Department.
And what unit are you with currently?
I am with the Southwest Texas Fusion Center.
Okay. What are your duties in your current role?
In my current role, I manage 6 grants for the unit, as well as purchasing and other budget items.
Okay. In total, how long have you been with the San Antonio Police Department?
17 years.
Okay. And were you previously assigned to the crime scene investigation unit?
Yes, I was.
About how long did you spend in that unit?
13 years.
Okay. What were your duties as a crime scene investigator?
I would collect evidence, take photographs, take fingerprints, things like that.
Okay. And what kind of training did you undergo to become a crime scene investigator?
When I was first hired, we get 3 months of training in the academy, and then a month of ride-alongs, and then I was annually trained after that.
Okay. Now, were you employed as a crime scene investigator with the San Antonio Police Department on June 6th of 2017?
Yes, I was.
And as part of your duties as a crime scene investigator back in 2017, were you tasked with obtaining digital evidence in certain cases?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And on June 6th of 2017, did you receive a cellular device to extract associated with the case that we're here for today?
Could I see my extraction report?
Yes. Well, I don't have a printout of it, but I'll show you what has been marked as exhibit number 140. Do you recognize what this is?
Yes.
Okay, and have you reviewed that before?
Yes, I have.
And does it contain a fair and accurate depiction of the extraction that was generated in this report?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and that was for Kate. And do you have any unique identifiers on here to confirm that you've reviewed the contents of the disc?
Yes, my initials are on it.
Okay, and so you recall that you've reviewed it, correct?
Yes.
And it's a fair and accurate copy of the report?
Yes.
And that analysis is done in this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell the jury how you came into possession of the cellular device that you conducted the extraction on?
Sure. We have a secure lockbox in our photo lab, which is at our headquarters. And that day I took the piece of evidence out of the secure lockbox and I started to process it.
Okay. What did you search the State's Exhibit number 140 under? What authority did you act?
There was a search warrant.
Okay. And what program did you use to conduct the forensic extraction?
It's called Cellbrite.
And did you have training and experience with Cellbrite back in 2017?
Yes, I was trained by another CSI.
Okay, and had you conducted investigations previously with forensic devices using Cellbrite?
Yes.
Okay. And at the time, were you familiar with Cellbrite?
Yes, I was familiar.
And in your training and experience, did you find it to be reliable?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain to the jury how Celebrite was used in this case regarding the contents of State's Exhibit 140?
Sure. At the time you had the phone, you would plug it into it's called a UFED device, a Universal Forensic Extraction Device. And that device plugs into the computer that has the Celebrite software on it. So you would take the phone, plug it into the UFED, which gave you some prompts, and you would go through the prompts, and then the extraction report would run. And you just kind of waited. It would depend on how much data was on the phone as to how long it would take.
Okay. And so in this case, regarding State's Exhibit number 140, did you hook up the phone that you received to the Celebrite toggle?
Yes.
Okay. And you followed all the prompts?
Yes, I did.
All right. And did a successful extraction occur?
Yes, it did.
And was a report generated with the findings of the cell phone that you received?
Yes.
Okay. To your knowledge, can the data that's extracted be manipulated in any way?
No.
Okay. And so, well, at this time, the state offers State's Exhibit 140.
No new objections.
All right, State's Exhibit number 140 is admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Granted.
Did you know you could be owed a major cash payout if you were in a car accident in the last year, even if you were just a passenger or it seemed minor?
All right, can you see that up there?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, if you take a look at State's Exhibit number 140, what day was the report created?
It was created on June 6th of 2017.
Okay. And regarding the examiner name, who is that?
That's me.
Okay. And is that your badge number?
Yes, it was.
All right. Now, regarding the extraction start date and time, can you tell the jury what that was?
The start date was June 6, 2017 at 8:29 a.m. And the end time was June 6th of 2017 at 8:32 a.m.
Okay. Now, regarding the MSISDN, can you explain to the jury what that is?
That is the full phone number of the device.
Okay. And regarding the detected phone model, can you please go over that with the jury?
It's an iPhone 5.
Okay. And who is the owner name that was designated to the device?
It's TAYK4 7 iPhone.
Okay. And what is the IMEI number registered to the phone?
The IMEI number is a 15-digit number for every cellular device. It's assigned to every cellular device for the SIM slot.
Okay. And what was it in this case on State's Exhibit 140?
It is 3585380563869112.
Sorry about that. And regarding the Apple IDs that were registered to the device, Can you explain to the jury what those are?
They are emails, the first being sonofsaam@aol.com, and the other being tayk47u@icloud.com.
And regarding call logs, if you would just give me a second. You've previously reviewed this, and this is a fair and accurate depiction of the calls that were contained on the device, correct?
Yes.
And regarding this iMessage, can you explain to the jury regarding the item listed as 67, who the participants in that iMessage thread were?
It's going to be tayk47u@icloud.com.
Okay, and the other number associated with the text thread?
The other number is 1-469-347-3233.
Okay. And regarding this message on February 3rd of 2017 at 2:56 p.m., who does it appear sent that message?
The tayk47u@icloud.com.
And what does that message say?
It says, "Who is this?"
Okay, and then regarding the message sent directly after that, on February 3rd of 2017 at 2:57 p.m., can you say what number was associated with that chat?
It's 1-469-347-3233.
And what does that say?
Pimpy Z.
Okay. And regarding the message at February 3rd of 2017 at 2:57, is that an image that was sent to the iPhone?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, Stacy, you can use your microphone?
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it'll make it easier for everyone to hear. It's not working.
I'll try to talk louder.
All right, thank you. There we go. All right, thanks.
All right, Ms. Patton, and as part of the reviews of State's Exhibit number 140, there were multiple images that were contained within the phone. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And just regarding this image for demonstrative purpose, regarding line 13, can you identify when that photo was taken?
It was taken on February 10th of 2017 at 5:02 p.m.
Okay, regarding State's Exhibit, or the item listed as 140, can you tell when that image was created?
It was created on March 3rd, 2017 at 3:16 p.m.
Okay, and line 141?
It was taken on March 3rd, 2017 at 3:15 p.m.
And 142?
It was taken on March 3rd, 2017 at 3:15 p.m.
And 143?
Also on March 3rd, 2017 at 3:15 p.m.
Co-producer is going to give you unique sounds that fits your track in seconds. First, let it listen.
Regarding line 144?
It was taken on March 3rd, 2017 at 3:14 p.m.
Line 145?
1:45?
Yes.
It was taken on March 3rd, 2017 at 3:14.
And you would be able to tell the date and time that they were taken by looking where you could show the jury, please.
Looking right here at created.
Where my mouse is toggling?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Thank you very much. We pass the witness, Your Honor.
Defense.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So what we just looked at is the evidence of what's called a logical extraction. Is that right?
Yes, I believe it's also a file system extraction.
Okay, and there are different grades of extraction, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And logical or file system is the lowest level, lowest tier of extraction, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So for example, it won't tell you what's in the deleted files or in the cache of different applications, right?
Yes, that is correct.
If you wanted to look at messages that were sent on platforms like Instagram or Snapchat, things like that, you wouldn't be able to access it.
No, sir.
And what ultimately this kind of a logical extraction. So, do you know how many thousands of dollars it costs to have that software at your disposal?
Objection, relevance.
What's relevance?
To explain how complicated it is to get more information from the cell phone.
All right, objection is the same.
Pass the witness.
No further questions, and she's excused by the state judge.
Excused.
All right, the rule has been invoked. You're not allowed to discuss your testimony with anyone during the pendency of this case or do anything. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure you leave your microphone behind, and if you'll leave the exhibit of the court reporter.
Okay.
State, call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor, the state calls Detective Raul Juarez.
Let everybody approach you, Simone.
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, being informed by both parties that this is going to be a lengthy witness, potentially. But I'm going to give you all a break so everyone can use the facilities, and then we'll come back. But I'll make sure that you do have a lunch break, but I want to make sure that we continue with this witness. Then after this witness, I anticipate giving you your lunch break at that time. Are you all okay with that? All right, so I'm going to have everyone back here Is 11:10 enough time for you all? All right, remember my previous instructions. Everyone please rise for the jurors.
Yeah, this is a 7-hour trial, man. I'm gonna go ahead and stop it right here, man. I'm gonna get at y'all tomorrow night like we always do. So yeah, basically this was like the forensic side of the trial, I guess. They talking to the jury, trying to convince the jury. I can keep going with this part of the trial if y'all want me to. Just let me know. But I don't know if they have another one tomorrow we'll look at or react to, but this was the one that was streamed yesterday, so if y'all want me to continue with this, just let me know, man. But other than that, you know, we're gonna get off this stream, come back tomorrow night. Like I say in all the streams, just follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and we're gonna get it, and we're gonna keep rolling with this, man. I'm gonna try to stay consistent, and yeah, man, we're gonna keep going. Get a y'all next time.